Good morning, guys. Hello, it is Alicia here. I'm here to talk to you guys about unconditional love for others. So, I've talked about unconditional versus conditioned. I've talked about unconditional love for yourself. Now, I'm going to talk, and I've also talked about deconditioning the old self. So, now I'm going to talk to you about unconditionally loving yourself. So, as I talk about this, I just want you to kind of keep in mind that when you've deconditioned yourself, you are going to be left with an open, clear path. Not clear, but you're going to just be you're going to be left with kind of like an open plate. And I want you to keep yourself open. I want you to keep opening yourself up and don't close yourself off to things. Don't close yourself off to certain ways of thinking, because that is how we condition, or we keep going back into our conditioned ways when we close off to what is. So when you decondition yourself, you're gonna be kind of like, okay, well, now what do I do? Where do I go from here? And actually, I kind of like did it in a different order, but when you go and you watch the Unconditional Self-Love, after you kind of deconditioned yourself, you will learn how to unconditionally self-love yourself. And so I'm making these videos on like unconditional love for others, unconditional love for yourself. So those are like your reconditioning to get into that loving state. I don't want to make just a video purely just on reconditioning because there's so much you have to cover. You have to recondition the self, you have to recondition for others, you have to recondition in how you look at things. So I want to break it down, and that's why I have unconditional love for yourself. And now I have unconditional love for others right in here. It's going to be a little bit later, but we're going to get into it. So, when I think of unconditional love for others, I kind of think like no judgment. So you don't judge a person, you don't put them down, you don't look at a person and say, oh, they don't have nice clothes, I'm not going to be their friend. Or that person listens to classical music and I listen to rock music, I don't want to be their friend. I don't listen to rock, but I'm just, as an example, I don't mind rock either, though. I'm not judging you for rock. You do you. But, so those things you don't judge for. I've got my little book here so I don't get distracted, but you know me. I would go on rants. It's just me. So also, what I also thought, unconditionally loving others, I think that when you love a person exactly like with their features and everything, so a lot of the times we also will judge a person on how they look. So not just like what they like and everything, but also how they look. And so we judge them and we say, oh, well, that person has raggedy tattedy hair, so I'm going to judge them for that. Or that person has ripped up clothes, so I'm going to judge them and I'm not going to give them that unconditional love. That right there, you're conditioning yourself to not love a person just because of a certain way that you think that they should be. And that's just not the case, because everybody is different, everybody will follow their own path. And so, in order to unconditionally love others, you have to love them for exactly who they are. You have to love every single feature of them. You have to love who they are, where they are, and what they're doing. Even if you do not agree on it, even if you would not do it yourself, it doesn't mean you put them down. And I'm gonna also kind of go a little bit off track on this because I want you guys to see what it means. I'll just go into it. So when I talk about this, I'm not saying that when a person is doing drugs and everything that you're just going to be like, yes, let's do this, you go do your crack. That's not what you're going to do, because we probably all know that those drugs are not doing you good. But the key to this is not to judge them or to try to implement your thought process on them. So really what the key to this is seeing, yes, they have problems. Yes, they have traumas, things inside that they're dealing with. Maybe they're numbing the pain with this drug, whatever they're doing. And you might see this and you might feel bad. You might feel obligated to help them, but that's not your job. You're not here to help every single person. You're here to help yourself and show people a better way from your own examples, but not try to say, this is the better way, you have to do this. It's not like that. You need to love other people, love them exactly as they are, even if they're doing drugs, and just keep your distance if they're very toxic. This is what people pleasing kind of comes down to. So when people think of unconditionally loving others, they think that they have to um, just like people please. They have to do anything that a person wants them to do. They think that they have to be exactly as a person wants them to do, and that's not the case. We don't have to people please. You know your boundaries, you stay within your boundaries, and you figure out if this person is bringing you down or if this person is bringing you up. And in just that simple thought process of where is this person kind of in my life, it can show you um, how close physically you can get to a person. And I'm not saying, and I say physically because um, we should all connect with everybody regardless. Even if they're not good for our soul, we should still be able to send them love from afar. Because when you when a person doesn't fit into your life, and instead of sending them love, you send them hatred, and you say, oh, you're just going to go down a bad path, oh, you're just doing this, you're um, destroying your life, you're just totally going downhill. That right there already is not even still good. That you're sending them a lot of bad energy through your thought process, because everything that we do, everything that we think, everything that we say, it all has a vibration to it. And so when you think things about people, and that's why actually sometimes when you're thinking about a person, and then they message you, it's because actually you've been thinking about them like just wholeheartedly, and you're actually sending them so much energy through that thought process that they actually pick it up and they start thinking about you, and so you guys both connect. Um, that same thing can happen though when you send them um, like negative or not loving energy. So when you're constantly putting a person down and you're saying, oh, you're so shitty from afar, you're still sending that person bad energy. And so when we do this, we're not allowing them to thrive. We're not allowing them to move forward in life. And when we don't allow them to move forward, no wonder they're going to stay in that shitty path. Um, and so that's why I say it's not about letting people in your life, it's about knowing your boundaries, but still sending love. Because regardless of what people do, you can always send love to everybody. And that is the way that we can move into a more loving community, is when we don't hate on each other even for things that were done wrong or anything. We just love each other exactly as we are, and we send love instead of hate. Um, so I know that was a big rant, but that had to be said because you should always you should always be loving others. You should always be sending love to others, regardless of how your ego feels. Even if your ego was um, damaged by that person, it doesn't mean that you have to keep making that damage happen. You can switch that and say, you know what? Regardless of what this person did, I'm gonna love them. I'm gonna give them so much love. And like an example for this is, for me, I obviously have a daughter, and me and my daughter's dad, we get along, but we have our differences, like everybody does. And sometimes, with our differences, there's a lot of things that will come up, and instead of me saying, oh my god, this guy is making things so much harder than they are. Oh, why does he have to do this? Just gonna send him hate. He is such a shitty person. Instead of doing all that, every single time we have a little conflict or anything, I say in my head, and I just sit there and I said, you know what? I know that he is going through a lot, and I know that something deeper inside of him is making things happen the way they are. And so right now, I'm gonna send him love. I'm not gonna, shower him with love and like text him or call him and be like, I love you so much. Oh my God. No, I'm gonna give him that compassion his heart needs. And so what I do is I send love and I send love and I'm like, okay, you know what? I know you're going through a hard time. I'm sending you love. And I don't even have to say it. I just send it and I send it and I send it. And then it's honestly helped me so freaking much because every single time there is even like the littlest bit of conflict, it is resolved so fast just with these types of words. Because it's not like I'm trying to push him down, I'm not trying to degrade him, I'm not trying to do anything to him, I'm just simply seeing him as he is. I'm seeing that there is hurt inside, and I'm giving that hurt compassion, which that's all really like depression, anxiety, all that stuff. That's what we need, is that compassion and love to overcome those fears, those traumas, all that stuff. Because when we are given compassion, even in the hardest times, it's then where we see, oh, you know what? Even when I'm a shitty person, I'm still loved. And maybe love is the answer. And so even if they don't see that perspective right away, maybe it takes a year or 2 years or 5, who knows? It's not about seeing the change right away. It's about planting the seed of love into people's brains, whether they don't know what it really is or not. It's about planting that seed so that it can grow on their own time. Yeah, hold on, guys. My feet are getting really cold. So, yeah, about like loving others. I felt like I just went on like such a big rant, and like when I go on rants, I usually just feel like everything from my mind is just being let out, and then I just feel like, that's nice, that's good, that is good. So I feel like this like really beautiful feeling right now. Like, that was a nice one, that was good. So, okay, so with loving others. So since I talked about like how to love people that you don't like and everything, now I kind of want to talk with you about, actually I should dive into boundaries. Boundaries is what I should talk to you about. So when I talk about boundaries, I don't mean like completely cutting the person off. You know what, actually sometimes you have to put that boundary up, because sometimes the person's just extremely taking, that you're just, even though you're unconditionally loving that person, it feels like you're giving way too much than you need to, than you're getting received. And so sometimes in life you do have to cut people off. Sometimes you have to say, okay, bye, sorry, and just love them from afar. And that's where this kind of compassion comes from, because even when you cut people out of your life, it doesn't mean that they are completely out of your soul. So you're obviously going to think of that person, because they probably will be thinking of you. And when this happens, that's when you have to give them love and compassion, and not think of all the bad times you had, and not think meanly of that person, but you kind of just think, you know what, regardless of what happened, I'm going to send that person love, and I hope that they can do better, and I hope that their life gets better, and I just pray for them. If you don't believe in praying or anything, just simply think about them. Think of love for them. But like with boundaries, you have to put boundaries up so that you're not people pleasing, or you're not getting taken advantage of. Because a lot of the times when you become um, a more compassionate, loving person, a lot of people who really, really, really need this, they will take too much from this. And Um, everybody needs compassion, everybody needs love, and it's not about not giving that person love, but it's about having that boundary of how much you give. And so if this person is overly taking of your love, then love from afar. So maybe, it might be a little bit harder. You do need to communicate. You need to talk about how you feel. And although it might be like the most anxiety thing ever, sometimes, I get clammy hands. I get really clammy hands. And so when I get into those moments of I have to communicate, my hands get so clammy. But that's when I know that I should say that stuff, because it's like my heart is like, you need to say this stuff, even if it's like scary and it's crazy, and then I just say it. And usually, most times, the people who I say this stuff to, because I say it with a loving manner, they respect me so much. They respect that I need to put that boundary up between us because I need to focus on myself more, and I can't have someone taking too much out of me. And so it's about putting boundaries up that help you to unconditionally love others. And it also is about putting boundaries up so that the other person learns how to unconditionally love themselves. Because sometimes what people do is they look for people to fill their void. And so they're very conditioned. And so they're conditioning themselves to make you feel like you have to do that part in them. And when you put your boundaries up and you show them, but you also give them love and compassion, you're kind of opening that door for them and allowing them to come in and be like, hey, you know what? Actually, maybe I can do this by myself with the help of a person. It's not about doing everything on your own, because there's community to help us all. It's not, it's actually, there was something that just popped in my brain that I really want to say. And, a lot of times in life we've been taught to be independent, only independent. And independent means that you're doing a lot of the stuff on your own. You're solely like, you're independent. You're doing all of it on your own and you're doing good on your own. But the thing is with independence is you often go into this egotistical way of, I don't need anybody's help. I can do it all on my own. But the thing is, community is there for a reason, and it's not there to just say, hey, how's it going? That's where co-interdependence comes into play. And co-interdependence means that you're independent, but you're also codependent when you need it. So you are humble enough to know when you need help, but you also are um, powerful enough within yourself to know that you can do it by yourself. And then there's also codependence, where it's like you're just totally reliant on a person. And so it's like independent and the codependent. And you kind of want to go in the middle and go to co-interdependent, so that you're not relying on people, but you're not relying only on yourself. You're relying on everything. You're not just relying, but you're using the sources, you're expanding your knowledge, you're expanding yourself, so that it's not only you that's doing it. And when we do this, we actually are able to open up, and we're actually able to allow people to help us, and we're allowing ourselves to be helped. And so this is where it comes into play with embracing people. And so I just want to know that rant, and it just took me off where I was. So when you help other people, you're not doing it to be codependent. And when you want help from other people, you're not going to the people to do everything for you. It's more like, I can do this, but I also need some guidance in these certain areas. And it's totally okay to have guidance. You should allow yourself to be open to guidance and everything. Okay, and so, so, also, this, loving others. Okay, so, loving others also means that you have to love the people around you unconditionally, like so full wholeheartedly. So a lot of the times when you have close people in your life and you have people that are close to you, you're you usually love them, but it's usually just like a love to kind of say, yeah, I loved you. It's not like a like when a person's in your presence, you're not like, wow, I love you so much. Like, oh my gosh. And you're not showering them with love. And that's where that unconditional love comes from, is when you shower a person with love and you just embrace their whole soul, sorry, they actually can feel it. And so they can actually feel it. And then we're able to allow people to thrive more. So when you're unconditionally loving a person, you're giving them that sense of they're worthy enough. Like everybody should know that they're worthy enough. You don't need a person to tell you that you're worthy enough. But it always is a beautiful reminder to know that there's people who will love you fully and shower you with love. Um, Sorry, my cats are outside on the balcony and they're just making so much noise, and I'm like, what you guys doing out there? What the heck? And so, yeah, I feel like I just went on like a big rant right there, and now I'm just gonna kind of tie it back together and tie everything that I've kind of said. And so, with unconditionally loving others, you need to love wholeheartedly. You need to, sorry, I always keep saying you need to, and I only say you need to because for me, I think it's something that these are things that we should be totally wholeheartedly doing to become a better person. And that's why I say you need to, because in order to become that better person, these are the things you need to do. You should be doing them, definitely, but at the end of the day, you got to do these things to move into a more aware consciousness. Um, and so I can keep saying you should, but really, I know that you got to do this. I know this is how we're going to move forward. And I wouldn't say you need to do anything unless I knew that it would really help you. And so you guys should be really opening up to everything. Like opening your heart up and allowing your heart to make the decisions rather than your ego. Unconditionally loving people, even if they don't fit into your bubble. Um, Also, loving people who for exactly who they are. Knowing your boundaries and knowing that even when you put your boundaries up, that does not mean that you don't love the person. Still sending the person love all the time, even if they're not a good person for you, you still send them love. Because you know what? For me, I'm not a crazy Christian, but I do believe that a lot of Jesus' stories and a lot of what Jesus did was a lot from love and compassion. And so when I talk about Jesus, I'm not trying to implement um, Christianity into you. I solely really just love Jesus as a person. Um, and so when I talk about him, I really want you guys to know that he had so much compassion for so many people. And that's why so many people were able to be healed by Jesus, because that full, wholeheartedly love that he gave to people. He gave such a beautiful love that people were able to be healed. And it wasn't because he had magical powers, it's because he was giving them so much loving energy that they themselves saw their worth and they saw that they were able to be healed. And it just kind of put them into a more loving state for themselves. And love actually can cure so much. And it's not like when people hear like, oh, love can like cure things, it's not like a when you just have love it's going to cure. It's about that full wholehearted love. Like you need to feel it, embrace it inside within you, and then shower it out. Like I said before, with the unconditional self-love, your cup needs to be pouring out, so that when you're pouring into other people's cups, it's more like you're giving so much, and you're giving so much of that energy so that they can be healed. That's like what Jesus had. Jesus had an overflowing cup, and he was constantly pouring into other cups. Hold on, Neve is calling me. All right, we're back. So I was talking about, oh yeah, how Jesus, like, his cup was overflowing with love. And so he was just constantly filling other cups. And that's how people were able to heal themselves, because they were having love given to them. They were having a person see them as their soul and give that wholehearted love. And so when we unconditionally love others, it's really about loving a person for exactly who they are. Like, not judging them, not trying to change them, not trying to make them the person that you want to be. It's not about looking for the good in a person. I mean, looking for the bad in a person. You should always look for the good in a person. But so all these things, they kind of tie together to show you what unconditional love for others is. And when you have unconditional love for others, you're able to move out of that conditioned mindset. You're able to not judge. Judgment is a big thing on um, judgment is such a big thing that brings us down. When we judge others, we're judging ourselves. Just think about it like that, because you're judging a place of yourself that you have not healed or that you do not want to heal. So a lot of times an example, when someone sees a person wearing like no clothes or something, or they're very provocative, and the person who sees them is very conservative, that person is going to judge them because um, they're very open with their body. But really what they're doing is they're judging themselves because they've not learned to be that open with their body. And I'm not saying everybody needs to dress like provocative or everybody needs to be a certain way, but it's just about not judging that person for the way that they want to be. And so if a person wants to be conservative, let them be conservative and embrace their conservativeness. Love them for who they are. And then if a person wants to be open with their body, embrace that too. So it's just about embracing a person for exactly who they are and nothing less. Knowing that everybody is a soul, everybody is on a path, everybody is going and doing something, even if someone is a complete drug addict and they're completely addicted to drugs and everything. They still have a soul and they still need compassion, because they are going through a lot in their mind. They're going through a lot that they've disconnected themselves wholeheartedly, and they've connected to the substance that they're addicted to. And so they need compassion too. And everybody needs compassion. Everybody will be able to thrive much better if they have just a little bit of compassion for themselves. And so yeah, with like unconditionally loving others, you just have to really just know your boundaries, know not to people please, and then also know that you have to unconditionally love others. And it's not about you're so cute. And it's not about sorry, I'm just getting distracted by this little cutie. You're so silly. So yeah, it's honestly about just loving everybody, loving everyone, giving that compassion, but also knowing your worth and knowing that you don't need to give your whole, you don't need to people please, you don't need to do all that to unconditionally love others. You just have to have compassion for others, and you just have to come from a loving mindset and come from love, because you know what? Love is always the answer, and regardless of if you ever think so, it is the answer. That was like a woof. I know, guys, that's gonna be my #1 debut. Oh my god. But anyways, I think I'm done with this topic right now. Maybe if I have more that I want to say, or if you have any questions, any suggestions on what I should add or what I missed, feel free please to comment or talk to me about it, I would love to. I love literally getting any opinions on my videos because number one, it shows me that you guys are watching it full wholeheartedly and you guys are diving into it, and I love that. Number two, it shows me different ways um, of communicating, and it also shows me ways that I might have missed or that I did not think of. Um, I also love it because it's an interaction and it's a connection with you guys. So when you guys talk to me about my videos, I really feel like I'm able to connect to you guys, and we can talk about this and we can really dive deeper into these topics. And so these videos are really just like the basics of what I want to talk about. If you want to know more, come to me. Let's talk about this. Ask me questions. I'm such an open book. I'm such an open person that I will not judge you. I will not get mad at you for whatever things or whatever you want to say. I'm here. I'm compassionate. I'm trying to love you all so that you guys can love yourself too. So, with that being said, as someone keeps doing, come on and get the lovin's, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good day. Bye.